Your help with our affairs today. Bless our meeting with your divine intelligence and help us to make the best use of our own. We are of diverse opinion here, yet we wish to mend our differences and reach agreement satisfactorily to all. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome everybody. Ms. Slipson, will you please take roll?
Mr. Bills.
Here.
Ms. Dover.
Here.
Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Mr. Ringo.
Here.
Ms. Wadsworth.
Here.
And Mayor Jansen.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Everyone should have gotten a copy of the minutes from the November 19th meeting. Is there any discussion or changes, corrections? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. All right, we have a couple of presentations. Up first, from the Crescentville Fire Authority, we have Jim Cahill, the CVFA Treasurer. Mr. Cahill.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to this. The only reason I'm here, I don't want you to vote on anything tonight. I simply want to make you aware of where we are. I think Scott and Chad have probably done a pretty good job of doing that up until now. But I wanted you to hear it from me because there are some things that are going to have to happen this year. We've got 6 months worth of data. That's not to say that we know exactly where we're going to end up, but I'm projecting that we are going to run out of money in this fiscal year. The ILA stipulates that next year's budget needs to be submitted to the 2 mayors by the end of February, so I need to get that out to you probably next month. So the Fire Authority is going to vote on that budget on the 14th, and just so you know, if anybody wants to come, the joint meeting of the 2 finance committees is scheduled for the 17th at Crescent Springs at 4 o'clock. So if you want to be there, you're more than welcome. That joint meeting is to determine a couple of things. Number one, the split between the 2 cities for the next 5 years. I've done the calculation. It's going to stay at 60-40, so I don't think there'll be any surprises there. But we might surprise you with the amount of money we're going to fall short. So I just want to let you know where we are. The activity so far this year, we're about 13% increase in runs. Unfortunately, the runs don't space themselves out. They all happen at the same time. So we're spending a lot of money on personnel. We're spending money on overtime, like I said. We're spending money on fuel and wear and tear on the equipment. So those runs are really getting to us. Good news on that is that we are up on the squad billing. So I'm projecting about $100,000 delta on that, to the positive. In terms of payroll, you all know we used to be 100% volunteer. Then we moved to 100%, virtually 100% paid, but part-time. And now we're trying to get full-time employees involved in this thing. We started out with 8, we're now at 11, trying to minimize the overtime that we have. But what's happening is the full-time employees that are working part-time for us, they work full-time at another fire station, and they're working overtime there. So if they work overtime there, they can get time and a half. If they work for us, they get straight time. So guess which one they're picking. Also, there aren't any more people to get. We'd like to get more full-time employees. They're just not out there. And I think they're probably going to hear the same thing from the police chief. Nobody wants to get in this business anymore. So we're really struggling trying to keep the employees. And so our options are to outbid our neighbors, which I don't want to get in a bidding war with the neighbors, but that may be where we end up. But if that happens, then our payroll is going to go even higher than it is today. The only other option is to take a vehicle out of service, either a fire truck or an ambulance, and I don't think anybody wants that. So that's where we are on payroll. By the way, if you got any questions, just stop me. I know there are 2 people here on the Fire Authority and multiple people here on the Finance Committee, so you've already heard this, so it's probably going to be old hat. But if you have any questions, just stop me. Vehicle maintenance, for whatever reason, it's cost more to maintain the vehicles that we have than it did prior. We're looking into that, maybe finding different vendors, but the equipment's getting older and older, and we're using it more and more. So that's gonna continue to go up. We looked at what happens if we trade it out and get new equipment, but the pumper that we bought for, I can't remember what it was, $400,000?
$750.
That now it's going for $2 million. So, it's just unreasonable what they're doing. So there's nothing we can do in terms of trading out equipment and starting over from scratch. It just doesn't work. I will send you this budget if you want to see everything. But right now, we're projecting a cash shortfall that's going to be somewhere around $200,000. The reason it's $200,000 is we're going to pay off the pumper that we bought in 2016. It's a 10-year loan. It has a balloon payment at the end of $120,000, rough numbers, and we are going to pay that off in June this fiscal year at the recommendation of both finance chairs. So that's one thing we are going to do. That's one of the reasons we need additional monies. Also, just so you know, we have several payments due in the very first week of July. And I know it's really cumbersome for the cities to cut a check to us prior to 7/1, because then it goes into prepaid, and I understand all the concerns there, but we have a payroll in that first week of July, and we have a KLC bond payment on the new building of $28,000. So we got 75 for payroll and 28 for the KLC. So we're going to be in a cash crunch. So the decisions that I'm going to ask you to make, first of all, do you want to pay off this bumper? We can delay it. We can pay 7%, rough number, 6 to 7% for another 5 years on the bumper, and we basically be rolling forward $120,000. The other thing that could happen is we have an ambulance on order. If you remember, it's been on order for over 2 years now. They say now we're going to get it in February of 2027. So it'll be well over 3 years that thing's been on order. But when it comes in, the finance chairs have asked us to finance the entire $350,000 ambulance, at least until it comes in, and then the two councils can make a decision on whether they want to put any money down or not. But right now, it's in the budget as if we're going to finance the whole thing. So at the end of the day, $200,000. If you recall, $200,000 came back to the council because of the what we were able to do with the building. So I'm not asking for return that. That's not the question. The question is $200,000. My projection so far is that'll leave us with about $500 in the bank on June 30th. That's really no way to run a railroad. So I would like to ask for more than $200,000, potentially enough to cover that payroll and the KLC bond payment, so that would push us to $300,000. And that was the recommendation that the finance committee made last night. So in a nutshell, that's where we are. I know you've got a busy calendar, busy agenda. If you have any questions, I'd like to hear them now, but I'm not asking for any votes. I will be asking for a motion and a vote to approve the $300,000 if that's what you see fit to do, and we will need a vote on the budget after the mayors have reviewed it and decided that it's acceptable.
Jim, I have a question. So the $300,000, is that the Villa Hills portion, and
No,
then?
I'm sorry, I should be, no, it's 300 total.
Okay.
So Villa Hills would be 60% of that,
All right.
180, and Crescent Springs would be 120.
I think the thought from the finance committee last night, Seth, you can comment on this too, is that not having any kind of leeway in playing the float is just no way to operate, especially with as many obligations as we had. So we started looking at it and saying, what's the number? Is it one payroll, one full payroll amount? Is just enough so we've got enough going back and forth so we could cover a full payroll if we needed, and then Jim was talking about the monies back and forth, and then bond, and that's kind of how we landed at that 300 total number. So it would give us a little cushion in the bank. That kind of comes into our partner in this in the ILA, I guess. So depending upon what they vote on and want to do, and we wouldn't be the only one providing those funds, it would have to be done together. But
felt like at least for this time, we want to go ahead and increase it enough to cover that July 1 payroll, so they don't have to get, we don't have to do all this early stuff, and then maybe kind of account for that in next year's budget. And going forward to say, okay, we're gonna make sure that there's enough, like Chad was saying, what's the cash flow number that needs to be in the bank account for the fire department to cover payroll, so we don't have anybody coming up here saying, hey, we gotta have an early check so we can make sure we got money in the bank when the fiscal year rolls.
Yeah, if the check gets lost in the mail, what do we got to do
Yeah,
to make sure
exactly.
something
So
bounces?
I think that's probably I think a discussion for next year's budget, how much we want to put back and hold. But I think we were in agreement, and Karen's back there too, she can pipe in as well, that we definitely want to, I feel like we've got to move forward. We got to make sure that we cover all our expenses with the fire department. I think, we talked there that paying off that pumper is probably a good idea. It's already 10 years old. We then don't want to float another $120,000 on a 10-year-old pumper truck at 6 to 7% interest. If we can just pay it off now, save some money in the long run.
The thought from the finance committee chairs was, if we were going to finance something to the full, maybe we finance the new one to the full, instead of because we originally talked about putting $100,000 down on that. Still yet to be seen, but the one thing we don't want to do is get the 200 and then be financing, and it's just bad business. I mean, it's just bad business. So we got a responsibility to the community to keep these trucks and the fire trucks and both ambulances going, and it's a law, right?
We have surplus, and we should do what we need to do. That makes everything run the way it should for our city. I don't, that's how I feel, to get this brand new fire station and then to say, oh, well, we're gonna just kind of hold back on this. That doesn't make any sense to me. So, I've always been kind of the attitude with public safety and those services that the community relies on, then we do what we have to do and what we need to do.
Is there any particular calls that have increased significantly from other calls this year?
Not particular calls, but I'll explain a little bit about what we did. Chief Hall and I were just discussing about our drug overdoses are going way, way down. We were using 50 to 80 units of Narcan. We're down to almost zero.
Wow, that's
However,
impressive.
the overdoses that we have had have been fatal. So that's a good thing. They're down. What we did do is, because our ambulances were getting taxed so much, that when somebody falls out of bed or falls out of the kitchen table, we now send a fire engine instead of the ambulance. And we did that 67 times last year. So that's taken the pressure off the ambulance, but we're getting a lot of falls. The Villa Hills is getting to be a
Older community.
And really Crescent Springs and the people from Crescent Springs and Emerald Springs hate that I bring this up, but they're second to Madonna Manor in falls and ambulance calls. So the two additions of mainly the sanctuary and off of
Crossing.
Sierra
Yeah, the crossing.
have really hit us pretty hard. We've got a lot more calls there than what we expected. Fire alarms, things like that. So that's the majority of the calls. There's not one specific area that's bad.
I'm really happy that a couple months ago when we added on that extra 4% and we said, we might need this in the future, and this is the future.
We really are. As Jim noted, we got $120,000 back from the fire building, from the firehouse, right? So that 120 kind of covers some things, and then all we're really talking about is not all, but it's additional 60,000, all right? Our piece to get us up to the 300.
Well, I think our opinion was we were just going to let the fire department hold on to it, but
Right.
our neighbors decided they wanted
They
to
wanted it
refund
back,
So,
Don't kid yourself. I mean, this is not a one-time deal.
Yeah, no.
We're gonna be doing this year after year after
yeah,
year.
and that brings me, I think you mentioned, Sue using the surplus, and if that's, if we use some of that money to cover this, I would be amenable to that, but going forward, we need to make sure revenue is covering.
The budget's right.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Can you,
yeah.
can you touch on the rate? I don't want you to get down a rabbit hole on it, but like our rate per thousand or whatever we're charging, and then is there, and I was thinking about that last night, is there an option on that if our rate is pretty low comparatively speaking to other districts and stuff like that, the things I've learned in my whole week on the fire authority, but our rate seems very competitive, seems like it's very much in line, so is there an opportunity either through this council or the councilors or the ILA to increase that rate at some point, so we're not just coming out of the city coffers to do that, or does that happen at certain times?
That would change the way that we have traditionally done our budgeting, because typically what we do is we come up with an expense budget, subtract whatever we're gonna get from the insurance companies, and then you finance 60% of that.
Okay.
So that's how we come up with a number. If you want to base it on the rate per thousand, our rate is incredibly low. Most of the area is in a fire district situation at $2. We're way below $2. It's $2 per thousand. We're way below that. So, not that it's a deal or by any means, but I think what we're seeing is we've gone from volunteer to fully paid probably in a 10-year time period. And no way I expected this quickly, but it's happening because we can't get people to work. We have to make them full-time. We have to give them benefits. It just has to happen.
So the $1.35 is really backed into instead of reversed, like you said,
Okay.
I want $1.50 and then
Right.
whatever that produces, we back into it.
Okay.
So basically,
So it will go up if the budget goes up next year.
it automatically goes
Yeah.
up because what you do
Okay.
is whatever that is, you divide it by your thousands of property and you come up with a rate.
I got you, okay.
And
Great.
that's adjusted year over year. Sometimes it's come down, sometimes it's gone up. But when you look at Villa Hills, as we've always talked here, you compare us to any other city with a fire department. Not only are you well below the $2, which most of them are at, if they're fire districts or whatever, so we're at $1.35. That's a substantial sum. Then we're only paying 60% of the total cost, which another city's paying the full amount. So, to me, it's a double win for us where we're at right now. The sharing arrangement is a good deal. We're just going through a big transition.
I have one.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if everybody's aware of it, the unincorporated county that we cover is also included in the fire protective area. We agreed, 8 years ago, that we would go to the county and we would tell them what our citizens are paying. So the $1.31 per thousand or whatever, they pay the identical rate. And the county judge was on board with that, and they've been great with matching that rate. The other thing is that when you take a city-run fire department like Fort Mitchell or Edgewood or Erlanger, their fire station is included in the city building. So we're paying all the utilities, we're paying the water, we're paying everything, whereas in a city-run fire department, all that's absorbed in the city budget. Even the upkeep of the building. So that's another thing that is really not figured into that $1.31 per thousand, $1.51 per thousand. So we're kind of a different animal.
Maybe we need to establish a building fund or something like that.
Well, we do have a building line item in our budget.
In the
Of course, we
budget,
have
but it's all in the
mortgage
big
and then you
number.
have maintenance. But the way it used to be, we were just paying maintenance all the time. We didn't have a mortgage. Well, like Jim said, part of what the problem is now, we have the shifting in our personnel from volunteer, part-times, et cetera, to full-time, and trying to get that under our control. But now we have a mortgage, which we didn't have before. So years ago, and I'm talking 12, 15, 14 years ago, our mayor at that time decided that the fire department didn't need to have extra money because, the city could earn money on it and have the interest, we keep it in-house. Well, that worked okay when you're pretty much paying the same amount every month and you didn't have a mortgage. We didn't have these big swings. Now you're talking a $75,000 swing in a month and a mortgage due. The dynamics just changed, that's all.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll talk about for next budget year. I guess the other question I have, you said we're up to 11 full-time people now. Are you guys, I know you said you're having trouble getting people at all, but the opportunity there, do you want to expand that?
Absolutely.
Okay. I guess, we talked a little bit about this finance after you had to go. About, like when we do our budgets, we have the comparable cities and we look at our police and we look at all of our positions and say, okay, where in the scale do we fall? I think that's probably something I'd like to see for the fire department and kind of a recommendation of where do we need to be in that scale and, what that does for the budget and stuff. So, cause I think, I know you said you don't want to get into an arms race, but I've been where I don't know if we're not short.
Well, I was at Fort Mitchell, at Fort Thomas right now, it's $100,000 for a start.
Yeah.
And
That's
not even-
25,000 more than we want.
Yeah.
Not even a week later, then once Fort Thomas became the highest paid, then Hebron matched it with 110.
Yeah.
So it's a continual.
Yeah, I mean, we do the same thing with the police every year.
Right.
And I think it's, it's gonna be something, and this is where we'll want your all's recommendation of, we as a city, we wanna fall in the middle. We say, we got some advantages from being our size and being our type of community, but, is that where we wanna be at the fire department? Can we be there? I don't know the answer to that, so I guess that's on me, on you all to kind of say, here's where we think we need to be in comparison to other cities. To kind of
Well, like we told the board the other night, Jim and I base everything that the budget, goes into the budget based on what Chief thinks he needs. So we have that built in for next year, based on what he knows today. Now, 6 months from now, if the
Yeah,
city's
who's
ramped
gonna
that
know?
up, we may need more money, because we may have to put a retainer into people, a bump, just to cover it. But for what we know right now, he's already given us a figure that he needs,
Okay.
and that's in the next year's budget.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, I got beat up pretty bad at the Crescent Springs meeting about bringing in more volunteers. Things have changed in the fire service so much that in the back of our ambulance, they can do just about as much as they can do in an emergency room. So it's a totally higher level of training, different level of training than we did when we were volunteers. And we have 2 volunteers that are 70 years old, and I have a group that are 15-year-olds. That 15-year-olds can't go into fires, and I certainly don't expect the 70-year-olds to do it. But that's where we are, is there's a huge gap in the middle, and nobody has the time to volunteer anymore.
Yeah.
So it's a tough situation.
I don't know if this would be helpful or not in trying to recruit people to go into that line of service. But if we thought about, like, many, many years ago, and no way could do this now, my husband got his EMT training at NKU at night, just to get it. No, he does not want a job, and you don't want him. He's beyond 70. But I'm wondering, like my daughter teaches at Ignite, the premier high school, that funnels kids into what kind of careers they might like in the future. I know she's in the computer science one, but they have one there for health services. And I'm wondering, do you think it would be helpful if someone, you would go to some of these schools that have those kind of programs, and maybe if they see a face and you talk about our program here, would that be helpful?
Ignite has internships.
Yeah, they
All the
do.
seniors do.
They're already involved in it.
Right,
Yeah.
so here's where we're at with that, and we pay for EMT school, we pay for firefighting recruit school, but as soon as those volunteers are finished with school, if we don't hire them, somebody else talks them up, and then they're gone. So what we had done is, for me to pay for your EMT school, you have to give me a 2-year commitment to stay across the Springs as well as. And that seems to work for now. We're hiring internally. We've actually had paramedics start as EMT and then advance to paramedics where we pay for their schooling. But again, for a paramedic, I have to get a 3-year commitment out of them because it's very expensive.
Sure.
But yeah, we've run the gamut on volunteers and recruiting, and if I could keep all of them, I'd love to keep them all, but the price tag's out there. Hey, come to work at Hebron for $110,000 a year, or stay at Crescent Springs for 7. So it's,
If you all remember, I used to throw numbers out to you that we used to have numbers in the 80 range. Okay, well, we're down now to 12 that we can truly count on, and about a pool of what, 26 that the other 14 are iffy. I mean, that's how big the swings are in numbers anymore. I mean, the volunteer side of it is going to be, you're going to pluck people off, you're not gonna hoard them in. It's just the numbers aren't that big. So, I mean, where I'm going with this is what I've told you all many times is, we're gonna add full-time people. It's just a matter of when his volunteers start waning, and we're gonna add full-time people. That's where it's gonna end up going. If people wanna volunteer, they'll always accept it. I mean, they're valuable, they're great backups, if nothing else, but it's not what they do.
People just don't
I'll go back to
volunteer.
something
when they
Scott
need to.
said. You know, we, for years, we've been told, don't keep money in the fire authority, let the cities invest it. If we had a surplus, I wouldn't be here tonight. We don't have a surplus. At the end of June, we're gonna have $500 in the bank, and if you give me 200. I mean, that's, if we had a surplus, we wouldn't have this conversation, but we don't, we've never had one. So, you know, I'm not saying that we should have one now, but I'm just letting you know, that's why we're here. We had a surplus, and we used it up to buy air packs, so that guys can go, people can go into a fire with actual gear that works. So, that's what we used it on. So, we can't use it in little ones, unfortunately.
Is there a way, because I see on television all the time, that some of these cities in Cincinnati have levies for their fire departments?
As I understand it, that's not legal in Kentucky, is that true?
I'd have to look into that, but I'm not sure on that one.
Because I'm just thinking, would that,
Yeah.
would that be helpful? That, you know, like we have a garbage fee that we do every year when we have Rumpke. Could there be a fire authority?
Well, honestly, if you think about how our budget's put together, I mean, we just take a sum of money out and we divide it by 4 and allocate it to the fire department. All we're doing, a levy really would be just the tax increases that we put in, whether we raise our insurance or our
Right.
property taxes, like you said, that property tax, that money,
Yes.
that money really is our form of a levy. I
Okay.
mean, like we talked about, I pushed it hard because I knew these expenses are coming. I wanted that 4%. Well,
Right.
now you know what that levy went for.
Right.
Our budgets, our city is different than most of the cities in that it's really just in our tax rate. And we just, here, it's $1 million, and we hand over $1 million and say, here's your expense. The only other one I believe that legally is on the table is one that I don't feel comfortable with, and I don't think you will either. It's where you basically give up control to the county, and the county appoints the members to run a fire authority, and then we raise the rate to $2, our taxes go down for percentage basis, but people pay $2 per thousand on their property bill. And it would be on Kenton County's bill, not on our bill.
I know we talked about that.
Right,
Said we
and
didn't
it's just,
want that.
what you do then,
Right.
you lose control. We
Right.
wouldn't even need this conversation because the county would run it.
Right.
I don't like that idea. I mean, I've always thought we were better off being intimately involved in our day-to-day operations.
Right.
We make these decisions. We make police decisions. But I think those are really the only strong options that are out there, and I guess I still like the one we're doing so far. It's just gonna cost us more on the way we're doing it, that's all.
Kathy, I think going back to your question on the levy,
Mhm.
I thought that if we were to pass an additional, like, more like a specific tax, I think we have to put it on the ballot, don't we? Yeah, you have to put it, so regardless of whether or not Kentucky allows for a levy,
It would have to go on the ballot.
yeah.
Actually, I think the district goes on the ballot too, doesn't it? Yeah, it does, that one does too.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we're gonna, taxes go up for this. To me, this is a real easy one to justify. To say, we raise taxes because our department needed the money, here's how they needed it, so.
Well, if you
Yeah.
think about the district going on a ballot, somebody's gonna ask you the simple question, well, what are we paying today?
Mhm.
It's $1.35. Now you want me to pay $2?
Yeah.
How many votes you gonna get in favor of that?
Yeah.
I think the way we're doing it today is really efficient. We've split it with another city, or 60-40, and we're at $1.35. I don't know how much more efficient we can get. We're $650 from running out at the end of the year. We're pretty darn efficient with it. It's just we're in a transition period, and it's gonna take a little while to get that in balance.
I pick on it a lot because I deal with it every day, but the insurance premium tax, we were 153,000 over budget last year for fiscal year end 6/30/25 on insurance premium tax. That number's not gonna go down. It's gonna continue to rise because both cities have added residences
And property values. going
and
up.
property values go up. And if insurance rates go up and property values go up, it's the 1-2 punch. It's not great for the consumer, but again, there are some areas that we have realized increased monies that maybe it's catching up. So.
Kind of gets into our next city budget when we talk about sanctuary is about built out now, so we're not gonna see the massive property increases we've seen the last few years. But we will.
But you're gonna
still
realize
see-
the increases on it.
Yeah, you're gonna see that, but I think we're hitting that plateau that we all knew was coming, so.
Well,
but
hopefully the
we'll do it.
runs will do the same thing, because we were in
Yeah.
pretty much lockstep for a long time, and now they've gone up. Well, hopefully when both cities and their
When
build
everything's
outs-
built, then we're not gonna get a
hopefully they
bridge.
start
Yeah.
averaging out, and they're within a small decimal, either way, plus or minus. Is there anything else we needed to get from you, Jim,
And I
tonight?
just wanna make sure I'm hearing this right. You want me to go back to Crescent Springs with a $300,000 number?
Yeah, I think so, because you're gonna need $200,000 just to close the gap, and you need another $100,000 to cover July 1 payroll.
72 and 28. That's another 100.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did you want a motion tonight?
No, you don't need one. I have to present a budget to the fire authority first. And then
Okay.
they have to pass it, and then I'll give it to Chad or Scott, and we'll bring it to you. You can adopt it.
This is like we've talked here a couple of times, where I just needed your input. And he
Okay.
needs it right now, so, because all these are informal discussions, back and forth, and it has been back and forth with the councils, with these finance groups and that. It just needs direction.
When does this have to be approved by?
It has to be approved by both mayors.
No, when?
I have to get it to both mayors by the end of February.
Okay.
Next
All
year's
right, so
budget.
it's not, is this,
When do you need to cover the budget amendment for this year?
I can be as late as April or May.
Okay.
It's similar to the one you have.
Okay.
There's no difference. The problem is, I can't spend more money than I have budgeted.
Yeah.
It's the same problem you have, so I probably need to get it done in April,
Okay.
just to make sure it's done in time.
The difference from the fire authority and us is he doesn't have money to spend. We have reserves behind us that you can spend out of and make the amendment later. He needs the money. That's why we need the money from the cities earlier than the first of the quarter of the following month, because it's just, by then the bills are already past due.
well, and I was thinking, next month is not the time to have a big discussion
No.
over this for Shadow Night, so we still
Mar-
have
I think March
time.
is probably gonna be a good window
So
for us.
that's early enough to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caucus in
That's
March.
what I was wondering, that if we could approve it in March, so.
I think you get a payment from the cities, what, April 1st is it due?
Well,
So if we get it early,
Yeah.
then he doesn't need the money until really after April 1st, between April 1st and June-ish or so, to make those bills.
for the balloon payment and then bond.
Right.
That's it. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Jim.
Thank you.
Now get out.
Gosh,
I know he wanted to. He didn't,
time
he
we've had
didn't
the
want to
same
come.
presentation.
He was like, "You're making me come." I'm like, "Please come." I thought he'd be sprinting out.
1 week on the fire authority and somebody's getting.
I thought it was fun. Yeah. I thought I'd have to tackle him to get him to stay.
I think Jim misses us.
I think he does too.
But not enough.
Yeah, I don't think he does.
He just doesn't want to. He just doesn't want to admit it.
Yeah. All right,
Chief, you're up.
thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Up next, 2025 Fire Department Annual Report from Chief Jeff Lind.
I'm gonna be really brief because I know you have a lot on your plate, but I'm just gonna hit the highlights of the year-end report. 697 fire calls for the year. That's up 163 from last year. 1,294 ambulance calls. That's up 66 from last year. So those are an all-time high for us. The response times, an average ambulance call from leaving the firehouse to on scene, 3.2 minutes. Fire calls for Villa Hills, 3 minutes, 59 seconds. Crescent Springs, 3:55, and the unincorporated county, 4:03. Couple things on the year-end report. Property loss for the year, 301,600. That's an increase of 242,000 from the year before. The good news for Villa Hills, we only had $10,000 worth of losses in Villa Hills. The majority of the fires were in Crescent Springs. We did have a fatality in Crescent Springs, which is the first time in the 98-year history for the city of Crescent Springs. We did have one in Villa Hills back in 2007. The average fire loss for a community our size is between 770,000 and 1.1 million, so we're well below the average. We retained our Class 2 ISO rating, which is far above average for the state of Kentucky and added nationwide. I think that's all I have, unless there's any specific questions. Everybody got a copy of the report, I think, so.
Any questions for the chief?
Thanks.
Thanks,
you.
Chief.
Thank you both very much.
Let's move on to the reports. Police report, Chief Hall.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
All right, we had 980 calls for service. I'm just doing December's. I'm still working on my annual for last year, waiting for some numbers from dispatch. They had a server issue, and so we're kind of muddling through some stuff that I can get so I can give. The monthly, or the yearly, I should say. I don't know if I'm going to give it next month since we are doing Shadow Night next month. So it might be March, but I might make the person that's doing the Shadow Night suffer a little bit, but that's okay. That's not very nice, I know. That's not the way to go. All calls for service, 42% was in Villa Hills, 58% was in Crescent Springs. The dispatch calls was 47% to Villa Hills and 53% to Crescent Springs. And just so you know, the 53% to 47% was our annual last year. I'll repeat that in the numbers, but that was the breakdown for calls for service, dispatch calls for service breakdown between Crescent Springs and Villa Hills from last year. Because I know that'll be used in our calculations for the ILA. We had 17 crimes, 30 traffic collisions, issued 51 citations, 88 warnings, 3 incident report call responses, 5 domestics, and 2 e-crises. Here's the map provided along the way for our citations and arrests and for our warnings and such. Again, like I said, we had 30 traffic collisions. 7 of them were on Anderson. So Anderson was our top hitter this time, and it's right in the intersection of Buttermilk and Anderson. I don't have a reason why, to be quite honest with you. We had a couple of different running traffic red lights, side swipes, things of that nature. But last month, that intersection was really bad. It accounted for 24% of our crashes. So I really wish I had an answer for that, to be quite honest with you. And then that's the outlay of where the map for investigations. Sergeant Lucas. I'll kind of touch on base on some of this. He closed out a lot of cases. You'll see a lot of here where a lot of cases were with either suspect was located, identified, arrested, charged. Some of this maintains open for court purposes. The one big case that he is still currently working was a robbery for stalking and attempted murder charge that occurred in Crescent Springs. I can't go into a lot of detail on that since it is an open investigation, but it did require a lot of work. But the suspect was arrested and he is charged. He's actually in holding in Hamilton County Detention Center right now on charges up there as well for attempted arson and some other things up there, which tied into our case as well. So once he serves out time or it handles his Ohio charges, he's going to be facing his Kentucky charges. So the person's not going to get out, but he continues to work on that. And you also see in overtime that here in a minute, that was primarily where investigation overtime was. We paid out some overtime for him to go do interviews, try to get interviews from him, meeting with the police department up in Ohio and things like that. Our training for the month, we focus on Chapter 17.7, which is diminished capacity excited delirium. Sergeant Black and Officer Kalura attended the KLC Firearm Simulator. What that is if anybody's familiar with firearm simulator that goes around where it has projection on a screen and puts you in kind of a real life scenario and you have simulation done. They go to the simulator training, so they're able to put that training on for us. And KLC rotates the machine, the TI simulator, around the state. And we are scheduled for that next week, if I'm not mistaken on that. So appreciate them going down there and continuing that. 8 hours of training for Sergeant Dooley with Canine Onyx. He did have 2 deployments in the month, no bite apprehensions, no arrests, and no charges. One was in an article search and one was in a building search for his deployments. Again, like I said, he had 8 hours of training and it was all in building search. Overtime. So we had 6 hours in court, 8.5 hours in the investigations I've obviously already talked to you about. Shop with the Coppins last month was 9.5 hours. Again, I'll take this moment to say thank you very much for everybody that participated in Shop with the Cop. It was a great event. I will say that just on a personal basis, not anything to the previous years. The kids that we had this past year were amazing. Just very likable, very personable, very much appreciative. And of course, when they're appreciative, we're appreciative, and everything works out. And again, cannot do it without all of our community members and of course our wonderful gift wrappers as well. So everything. So thank you again with that. And then we had 4 hours in FTO training for a total of 28 hours in overtime. We did unfortunately have a traffic collision last month involving one of our cruisers. We were driving on the snow, coming into work. I don't say we had an officer lost control of the vehicle and went into a telephone pole. The officer's okay, which is obviously my primary concern. The vehicle unfortunately is totaled. So yeah, we'll be getting a check for the total amount that the cruiser unfortunately was one of the right ones. So, not the new gray ones, but the newer gray ones.
Will you use that money to get another cruiser, or do you have enough in the lineup to?
Ideally, we would use that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we would use that to purchase a new vehicle for replacement. Now, all of the equipment is going to be able to be reutilized in a new car because the Dodges we'll replace it with a similar vehicle, which will be a 2025, 2026 Durango, probably be a 25 since they still have one on the lot, and they're readily accessible. All that equipment will transfer over, so then we're left with the purchase of the car, which going rate for that on state bid is $43,000. I believe we'll get close to $25,000 to touch that. So I'm left with that left over to purchase a new car. Capital fund is what that is. Capital fund.
Chief, when, you talked about your overtime every month, but you may not know this answer, but Craig might. Do we build in any amount of money for overtime for the police department?
We do. If I'm not, no, go ahead.
A certain percentage or something, or like an average or something?
Every officer has 40 hours automatically built.
That's on a yearly basis?
On a yearly
Okay,
basis.
all right.
And not every officer uses it.
No, right, but we do, we build a
it.
cushion into the budget.
And 80 hours.
80 hours on what?
On the K9.
Oh, okay.
So I think that roughly equates to 900 or so hours. And every year that I've been in my position, I have decreased the hours of overtime every year. I believe I was actually even under almost 100 hours from the previous year. So doing some of my annual, but I'll have that number to you shortly.
No, I was just,
No.
just,
But it's built in. yes,
just
sir.
from an accounting standpoint, I mean, if we're spending it every year, there's some average amount, you figured out a number, it's built in, so we're cushioned already. Okay,
Public Works also has it for snow removal.
yeah. We just don't have it at the fire department, and we never had to worry about it before, but we may have to start thinking about that in our, some kind of number two, but I'm curious what we're doing with the rest of it.
We have certain, in policy, so anytime an officer goes to court, it's a mandatory minimum of 2 hours in court. So that's just for their appearance. So, I mean, honestly, they could go there and be there for 10 minutes, but they're still gonna get paid 2 hours of court overtime because of the case preparation, getting there, everything, and all that. So that's just built in, that's pretty standard across the board. Some agencies do 3 hours of slotted overtime, but we've stuck with the 2 hour minimum.
We have a lot of in-the-shift overtime, like you're on a call.
Yes.
So your automatically roll over.
And we have that as
But
well.
again, we don't have any built in, so it automatically becomes
It's extra expensive.
shortage.
That's right.
Right, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Up next, Safety Committee, Ms. Wadsworth.
So, two new hires, one is actually a lateral from Covington, and then Chief hired his first during the person, the sending to the academy? That's-
Finishing up phase two, I'll make phrase that. So not officially hired, but additional offers been,
Right.
sorry,
Perfect. Is that for the new?
that's for the new hire.
So when everything comes together, then he'll be going to the police academy in April. Now, what's really great is the time, remember, it was taking months to get slots in the academy. But due to classes now being capped at 40 instead of 24, that's reducing that time quite a bit. And then this I thought was interesting, 2027, all of the hours will be in person, or weeks will be in person, because they're finding that the 2 online weeks that they do prior, they're getting to the academy and they're not remembering anything. So, yeah, that kind of like puts that whole NTI school stuff. So anyway, that'll start in 2027. And then just in general, Mr. Newgaber asked Chief if we had concerns, and it was basically, the inadequate space within the building. So, and let's have a little discussion on that, so the committee is kind of up to speed about looking for a consultant and taking care of those things. So are there any questions?
That's the consultant we already have in the budget? Or
I don't think we actually, I thought we removed that, I don't know.
did we pull it out? I thought we were
It was,
talking,
we had
monthly
30,000 that we moved from
Yeah.
a consultant to building maintenance, with the idea that,
But it's still there to use for consultant though,
yes.
right? Okay. And what is the timing for consultant?
We're in process. We had we had an initial evaluation done
Okay.
for just in general, and then we're looking at, Craig has reached out to a couple different companies to get information on what they would charge for doing like a study.
Okay.
So what are we looking at time-wise? Is there,
Well, right now, I'm simply waiting for some responses back. Kind of got caught up in the holiday crunch, and so I'll have to reestablish contact and try to see if I can get some additional.
any other questions?
Thank you. Up next, Public Works Committee.
Mayor. So, start off at the perennial topic, Collins Amsterdam intersection. The environmental should be continuing now, finally. Notice to proceed should be out, if not this week, next. So 4 to 5 months for this to complete, so looking around July to get this done. And then that would kind of go from there to see about utilities this calendar year, maybe getting started on those. More to be determined. So the other big topic is Rogers Road Bridge. We've talked about it a couple times, that we found some issues with it. So the one thing that we were hoping for is, we have this grant for the pedestrian bridge, and OKI has said that we can use that grant to do a full replacement of the vehicular bridge if we would like. We were also hoping that, the state has a grant program that you can apply for, and they issue on a rolling quarterly basis. So we had discussions with the state, and their basic response is, your bridge is in too good a shape to ever qualify for this grant, because it's really for bridges out there that are in really poor shape. So we would not qualify for that anytime soon. So what, I can go over the numbers here, but you'll have the full estimate there. So we got 3 estimates back. One is just to repair what's there, our bridge as it stands now, and then add the pedestrian bridge like we were originally going to. And that was the $811,000 total. Second option is to build a new bridge in the same spot, but adjust the alignment of the stream. So right now the stream comes out, there's a kink at the bridge to where the stream kind of runs into the bridge as it flows through. Our understanding at this committee was that that was one of the things contributing to the bridge issues, that the water's hitting it. There is some confusion question from the bridge team that maybe that's not that big a deal. So that's why there's two estimates for bridge replacement. One is adjusting the stream flow itself, and that's the 975 number. The other is if you don't have to actually adjust, you can just leave the stream alignment as it is and just build it.
You
Put a
can't
new bridge.
adjust the stream with the bridge we have today, though.
Right. Yes, you would have to.
You have to do a bridge redo along with the stream.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're basically having to dig out from underneath the bridge. So yeah. So Compass is kind of getting back to that as to what do we need to adjust the stream or do we not? You know, is it going to materially affect the life of the bridge if we don't? So they're coming back with that number. So again, the top line number for if we don't have to is 880. So to kind of do the math, we have 715,000 in grant from OKI. So, but then we'll have another. So basically, you take that number that I told you about, the top line number, say 880, subtract 715, but then you need to add some engineering work and some inspection work that will have to be done. So that's another, I think I put 160, 120,000. So you do the math, and then I've got those three totals there. Promise you the math is good. So we're looking at the final cost to the city, if we just repair, is 216,000 plus. If we fix the stream alignment, it's 380,000 plus. If we leave the stream alone and just do the bridge itself, it's 285. So that's what we're looking at right now for total cost to do one of those three options.
So we all rely today, I mean, every one of us travels over to Ohio on these bridges, and we all feel comfortable or whatever, to whatever degree, because the state says the bridge is in good shape, good enough shape. You're saying that the state is saying this bridge is in too good a shape.
To qualify for the grant.
Is this our engineer, who can tell us, do we really need to be doing any of this work at all?
Well, the bridge inspection people that we went and looked at say that, yeah, we're going to need to do something here soon. Not tomorrow, it's not an emergency situation, but we are going to need to start here. You know, we've got another 10 years or so if we don't do anything. Well, maybe that's not right. If we do the repairs, we're going to get another 10 to 15 years out of the bridge the way it is. If we don't do anything, and we get that number. I don't know that off the
But the
top of my head.
state's looking at it today without repairs and saying it's in too good a shape.
What they're comparing it to is all the other people's bridges
To get the
around the
grant.
state.
It's in too good a shape
Yeah,
to
the
get
grant-
that particular grant.
So
Does
ours,
she say we can repair it and still get 10 to 15 years?
Mhm.
That's,
Yeah.
to me, that's a good return, but that's just my thought.
well, and I think it's a question of, do we need to touch the stream? Because if we have to adjust the stream alignment, that's, another 100,000, 150,000 on top. If we don't, we're looking at 216 versus 285.
And who makes that determination?
Their bridge consulting team at Compass. They're going to tell us how bad do we really need to adjust that stream. Our understanding was that the stream alignment was part of the issue, but from further discussion last meeting, it was like, well, no. They're saying, well, no, it's not really. It's more the water coming down from the road because it's at the bottom of the hill. So I want.
So is that where the drains go in somewhere? Is that called drains? Drains off the road?
Yeah, just water off the road and coming down the hills is running down and flows over the bridge and
Okay.
erodes.
Water erosion.
Yeah, water erosion. And part of the things we talked about is putting like some inlet boxes and stuff before the bridge to catch that water now.
Run it off again.
But we had one understanding, and apparently Compass has another understanding. We just want to get clear as to what we need to do. What's the best thing? So, and then we'll kind of go from there.
So does option one include the channel alignment as well?
No, it's just repairing the bridge as it says.
Yeah, that's the
it's
impression I got, was that that's nothing.
Yeah, that's just repairing the bridge and adding the pedestrian bridge to the side. So
And that's 216?
that's 216 final cost to the city. Yeah. So.
I had a question about this parcel opposite the city-owned property whose owner isn't identified. So we likely would need to acquire this parcel for work. You mean, like to put equipment there? What does that mean?
Well,
Actually, I added, a specific, executive session item to discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Oh, executive session.
It's Seth's fault. It's Seth's fault.
Sorry.
It's been his fault the last 3
I know.
times.
Do you guys keep count of stuff like that?
Oh, there's a score. There's a score.
Uh-oh. You have to take my advice I told Jim and get out.
Yeah.
All right, next thing, so, the Valley Trails, so we did get a lump sum proposal for design of 131 to do phase 2 and 3, which would basically take it all the way from Tanglewood all the way up to Amsterdam. We're originally on the 5-year plan that was separated into 2 different phases. We may try and do them together, save a little money. We'll see. We still have to, we'll talk about the 5-year plan here in a minute. But the one thing I do want to point out, so one of the things when we hired Compass was they offered lump sum bidding to where they say, we're going to work on this project, this is how much it's going to cost, and that's the price.
That's
If more-
why the options didn't change on the bridge cost estimate for Rogers.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Because I saw the 164 and even 5 didn't change.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing now.
Yes,
Okay.
it's, we have said, rather than us getting surprised by anything later, just give us a lump sum and that's what the price is. So if something comes up that they have to do more work, then they eat that cost. We're paying that 131, 785, 51. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so this is the first of those types of bids that we've seen from them. Next thing I do, we talked about the sidewalk program a little bit. Speaking of sidewalks and speaking of Valley Trails, we did go ahead and have the ramps by Maristop have been repaired, dug out. Of course, there were tons of tree roots. Went in, repaired those, so that sidewalk has been corrected. So we were thinking about doing that with 2 and 3, but since we had the concrete contractor, we just went ahead and had that repaired. The other thing that we talked about, one of the things we run into, especially this year, there's been some issues of, Buck and Craig go out and inspect all the things that we're going to build on, just to be sure that what we're sending people is correct and they understand, and they will mark them with chalk. Well, by the time they mark them and then the people come to grind to repair them, sometimes the chalk marks are no longer visible, and we've had a couple issues of people on site, the workers kind of guessing what they think is wrong. Fixing something that is in fact should be corrected, but maybe that's not what we're billing for. And so then they have to go back and fix what we actually billed for. So the thing Craig's going to do, Buck's going to do, is they're actually going to mark them with some paint. So it'll be a little unsightly for a couple months until it gets fixed, but that will ensure that what we say, what we're billing for is going to get fixed and not something else.
Water, gas, everybody else marks the street with paint.
Yeah, exactly.
Not us.
Yeah, it's just, we were trying not, because it's going to sit there for 2 or 3 months, and that's what we're going to do. So just when we start the program up this year, if you hear complaints, that's why we're doing it.
Makes
So,
sense.
yeah. And the other thing is, we did finally get the street condition survey with some results, and so we're kind of going over those. We talked about them preliminarily. One of the things that we're going to do with the adjustment of the intersection of, Short Amsterdam that project's not happening. We're going to try and get a couple. It just so happens that a couple of the worst streets that scored are very small ones, so we think we can get those in this build season this year and get those taken care of. So we're pulling up getting some engineering designs done to try and get a couple of small streets taken care of that. So get that done this year. I think that is everything I have. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Very much.
All right, up next, Public Works Director, Mr. Yeldon.
Good evening, everybody. Hope y'all had good holidays. Lately, we've been working on cleaning drains, picking up trash, cutting little branches. We've got one tree down, so we catch our bed on our dump truck. The crack sealing, the weather came in too quick, so that will happen in spring. About 15 to 20 grand. I got that list if anybody wants to see the street that's going to be sealed. We did for Villa Park, we cleared like 1,100 feet of fence line.
Thank you.
Tree.
That was great.
It was a 2-day job, so 5 chainsaws for one day and everything over the fence. The next day, a chipper, $240 in 2 days. So that job
That's a good job, thank you.
Good, yeah, that was actually a good time to do it. We Franzen, we moved the front baseline at Franzen. We moved
The backfield?
80-foot fence. That is done. We were done on a nice little sunny day. Harry Riggin, we cut another a big tree down in the corner on city property for safety. It was overhanging and in the grass line, which is, a bunch of kids around here, so we went and cut that down. The salt dome is fully loaded. We're ready. Piece of cake.
You ready for the weekend?
We are.
Party
We're
time.
always ready. Always ready.
Party time with a snowblower.
Yeah. So while you guys are sleeping, we'll be awake, and while you're awake, we'll be awake.
I request that if Corey sees me out shoveling, that he doesn't bury me on purpose.
Right.
That happened before?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's amazing the amount of people out in wee hours in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
2, 3, 4.
take the target off.
Are you asking for somebody else to bury you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
We taking a pool or something?
this time with video.
Yeah.
He laughed. I was like, you did not. Just do this.
And just on top of that, training, CDL training, aggressive driving training, just the other day, a rainy day, training going on, pesticide training. We got a new kid on board, he's doing good. He went out a couple of small snows. This is gonna be his real test. But he'll do fine.
That's great.
Stay safe, please.
And thank you all for your help with the Christmas in the Park. You guys worked a lot for that, and it turned out, considering the weather or how cold it was, it turned out we had a decent amount of
Corey
people.
Allen did a good job.
Did they bring home any cookies? Yeah, I did have a whole bunch of cookies to bring to
They
the
did.
city,
They-
but then my kids got to them and I had no cookies left to bring to the city, so
That's okay, we didn't need them.
I figured as much, so. Thank you. All right, up next, finance.
We did not have a December meeting due to the council meeting being canceled, so we reviewed the November 25 and December 25 financial reports, and all the questions were reviewed and answered satisfactorily by staff, so thank you guys, Craig and Jennifer, for that. We discussed, Jim Cahill was at our finance committee meeting and pretty much presented all the issues that we just talked about. So one of the other things that we spent some time on was some ideas from Seth, just with regarding a stabilization fund. So just sort of, I don't know if you want to comment on that
Yeah, I
quickly,
guess
or
I can kind of
not
talk
that
about
I
it a
don't
little
want to
bit at
steal
a high
thunder,
level,
but
and you all can kind of tell me if you agree with this approach. You know, we've asked the city auditor, I don't know how many years in a row, how much reserves do we need to hold? How much should we hold back? And he's always said, well, 3 to 6 months. And we try to say, well, what do you think we should be at? And he's kind of, he didn't want to get into politics. He didn't want to commit. But this last time we talked to him about it, when he was standing up there, we talked to him, asked him the same questions. And he said, well, some cities have like a stabilization or a rainy day or emergency fund that they use to hold that type of money. And the thing that he said that kind of triggered it for me was, in talking to him about, how much do we hold or something, he didn't want to say firmly, but he said, something to the effect of, I would be very comfortable if the city held 3 months, given the time of tax base that we have, where we don't have businesses that go through big swings. Our tax thing is relatively stable. And we've talked about in here, all this reserve money, it's just sitting there. Is there some of that we could use for certain projects, whether it's the bridge, whether it's renovating a building, doing a road, anything like that. But before we start committing any of this money to any of those type of capital improvements, I think we probably need to set a mark and say, okay, no, this is our reserve. This is gonna go, this is the reserve, that's what it's for. We're not using this for projects, we're not spending this. This is our reserve for the financial health of the city. And so what I did is kind of work up, okay, what does that fund, what would that look like? And not talking about at this point dollar amount, just what is that fund? What are the rules of that fund? How do you put money in it? When could you take money out of it? And so I kind of worked up some ideas and stuff and brought them to the finance committee just to kind of get, one, I want to kind of start getting into the weeds there. We just talked about it a little bit at a high level. But also kind of, I guess, get the pulse of you all. Is that something you all would be agreeable to, you think we should do, is create a fund and just say, this is how much we're going to keep in reserve. This is not money to be spent unless there's an emergency or a stable, we have some kind of revenue issue. So I don't know
We've
what your
always had
thoughts
a number that pretty much came from Craig's side, which was how much does he need, what kind of float does he need? to
Yeah,
pay
and that's
bills?
that's even a separate thing from what I'm talking about.
Okay, so that's probably the only number that I can say in all the years I've been around here that we've ever nailed down to say that number has to be available. Because he's gonna burn through it, and he's gotta have money
Yeah,
to pay
and
bills.
we talked a little bit about,
Okay.
he and I talked a little bit about that.
But I guess
too.
I'm a little bewildered though, what advantage would we get to creating some kind of new fund that would just take any overage when today it's in the reserve? I mean, as long as you know the number that Craig needs, the number that's there is usable for anything. I mean, we've talked about before, you're gonna need more road money, we've got reserves. And, now we got fire issues, we've got reserves. What does that give us by having two funds instead of the one that is very flexible today?
Well, what I'm saying is, we have to keep, there's the money Craig needs to cash flow the city. But then there's also, what is our emergency fund? And how much is that? And I feel like I said, this year is the first time I feel like we got a good answer of, well, here's where you can start. And I would, him saying, I feel comfortable at 3 months. I was like, okay, well, that's at least someplace to start. And what I would like to do is I don't want to start committing reserve funds to whatever and sort of hurt, and so we find ourselves that we don't have the emergency fund that we thought.
Is it more the fund or is it more the guidelines that you're sort of leaning towards, Seth? Like, we've heard some focus about like, oh, it's a whole nother fund, but I mean, if we've got reserves, I think one of the things you're really looking at is checks and balances and guidelines to be assured that we've got that money in reserve for rainy day, emergency, catastrophic, whatever it needs to be. But sort of I mean, are we set on there being a separate fund, or are we set on there being guidelines to govern those monies to kind of give us some
For me,
some guardrails?
I would think it would be a separate fund taken from that, because that basically puts it in a box and says, this is our emergency money. You can't use it for anything but an emergency.
So
You
you're
can't-
looking to restrict it?
Yes, you can't use it to build a road, can't use it to place a bridge, can't use it to do anything unless there are certain conditions that have been met. Some type of emergency, some type of severe revenue shortfall that's gonna have an adverse impact on city operation.
I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm being too simplistic, but if we knew what those items were, the 1.7 million, if that's what it is, and some other components, and you add them up and it comes up at 2.5. I mean, to me, a policy that says we need to maintain a minimum of 2.5 million for emergency or city use purposes, then anything over that is potentially, once council approved it, would be able to be used for a road project or a funding of something else. I mean, I guess I'm going with where he's going with. If you just know that and say that, or have it written down somewhere, isn't that enough?
I guess I would say no. I don't think a policy of here's what we generally think is good is enough. I really
So-
want to see it as by law, we are creating this emergency fund, stabilization fund. This is how much money we're putting into it, and nobody can take money out of it unless there is some type of emergency. Just to give you an idea, I said, okay, if there's some type of natural disaster and, you know, a law gets passed, the council mayor says that we've had a disaster, we need money. Okay. We've had a revenue shortfall of X percentage amount because something happened, so now we're gonna have trouble operating the city next year. Money can come out. Other than that, you can't take the money out.
So you're basically restricting it so that in the future, depending upon whoever's sitting here or sitting there, they can't just spend down the reserves
Yes.
without having the city covered for any
Yes.
3 months
Yes,
of loss.
We as a council can't prevent a future council from undoing what we do, but I think we can make it hard and also blatant that.
Set a precedent.
Yeah, you're having to change the law to touch this money, and are you doing it for a good reason? So
It's the same thing we do with an amendment every year, though. I mean, we can't go over budget or under without doing an amendment. I mean, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of struggling to
So-
see the need for it myself.
So let me say this, this is in the initial phases, right? This is the first discussion that we talked about in this, so basically, what we noted in the minutes was just that nobody saw any issue with the next moving forward to the next step of Seth kind of laying out some of those guidelines and then kind of the logistics of it all. And then probably coming back to Finance Committee and having some more further discussions for us to have here, so.
yeah, like I said, it is kind of a restriction of I want us to not just have an agreed upon opinion, but actually have something passed that says this is our reserve. This is what we're keeping for the health of the city, you know. So we always know that we have that reserve, and then the money above that, you know, we have to have enough cash flow, but then also that extra money that goes beyond that, well, we can use it for some projects. We can use it to actually get some stuff done. But
Well, I don't want to leave people with the thinking though that we can't do that today.
Yeah,
Because we can always use the reserves
Yes.
today. If you said we needed $500,000 for a road and we all agreed, it's done.
Yeah, and we can, but I guess my fear is, what I don't want us to do is to start saying, okay, we're gonna use the bridge. Okay, we're gonna do this street. Okay, we're gonna do this building. And then all of a sudden, we look at it and we're like, oh, now we've got a month's worth of reserves.
Well, I hope we're better than that, but I.
Well,
understand your
I
concern.
think we would be.
I understand your
Yeah,
concern, but I hope we're better than
Yeah,
Well-
I think I'm more thinking, I want us to kind of say, here's what we think we need to reserve, and then that's what it's gonna be moving forward.
that. Well, I would like to hear that. I mean, I would
Yeah.
love to know what that number is. I'm just a little fuzzy on whether we need to do anything after we do that. I guess that's where I'm coming from.
Well,
If the policy
also-
says X amount of money, I'm all for it.
Something to consider once you restrict it, at the point in time where you determine that you need to use it for whatever purpose that qualifies, then you need to also come up with, as part of that, you know, decision or policy that dictates what can come out, you have to then also dictate how you're going to reestablish the money
Yeah,
that was
and
spent.
I've put some stuff in about that too.
Yeah.
I knew the accountants used to always get a little flummoxed about reserve accounts. They hate restricting stuff. I mean, it's another line, it causes auditing problems. I know they don't like it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would have to have a really good reason why we would need to do it, but I'm certainly willing to hear whatever you guys come up with, but,
That's-
I'm not feeling it yet.
That's pretty much what the Finance Committee thought too, was, it's got the best interest of the city at heart.
Yeah.
We like the 3 months, we like the ability for that number to be evaluated on an annual basis to make sure we're being fiscally responsible. And then the logistics of it, Seth's idea,
Yeah.
so it's, I mean, I like the idea, so, but, he's gonna keep on moving forward, just
Yeah.
to bring new
So,
ideas to us.
and to give you, so my thought on this is I brought this to finance, we'll kind of talk about it. And then I think if we come to a point where we have some good guidelines, then bring it forward to here. And then we can kind of talk about it here, sort of call it a pre-reading, not a first reading, but a pre-reading, so we kind of get an idea of what we think and agree upon a set of rules, and then actually like codify it and move from there. So, this is not something that's gonna happen fast. It's, I would like to get this done, I think this calendar year would be my schedule, so.
So both of those topics were our main topics for discussion. There will be, so basically, we recommend that the November and December financial reports be accepted as published and posted on the city website. And we ask for a motion to do so.
Were you making this motion?
Can I? I always get confused in that.
Yeah, Jim always would say, I make a motion.
I make a motion then.
I'll say.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, thank you.
Two more things. There, as Jim noted, the Crescent Spring Villa Hills Joint Finance Committee meeting is going to be held on Tuesday, February 17th, 4 o'clock in the Crescent Springs Council Chamber. So if anybody wants to attend, and then our next Finance Committee meeting is rescheduled again because of President's Day. So it's Tuesday, February 6th. Tuesday, February 17th, 7 o'clock in council chambers. All are welcome to attend.
7 o'clock, not 6 o'clock?
We moved it back to 6. We had it at 7 before.
Okay. No,
So I moved it back to 7, yeah.
Okay.
That was the general gist, unless
Okay.
somebody wants to
I
change
just
it.
want to know if I can eat dinner after I get off work before I come, so that's.
Yeah. It was been Monday at 7, so that's why we kept it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 7.
Sounds good.
It was only moved because I think of the basketball game or something. So Jim had a basketball game. So. That's all. Thanks.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Bills? All right, thank you. Admin Committee, Ms. Stover.
Okay, so the administration committee met on January 7th, and the topic of discussion was basically because the Kentucky General Assembly passed House Bill 160 that amended KRS 100.348, and it's talked about qualified manufactured homes. So qualified manufactured homes are exactly that. They're manufactured homes that then come in pieces and are put together. Kind of like what's on the Dolick Connector. If you're going over there by the Griffin Elite place, those houses on the left, is compared to manufactured homes, which are mobile homes. Correct, Carol? So we're not talking about mobile homes, so you don't have to worry about that. So anyway, the Assembly asserted that the providing of quality, affordable housing through qualified manufactured homes serves an essential public purpose. So basically what they said was, the bill states that cities cannot treat qualified manufactured homes any different than single-family homes. So currently in section 4.05B4 of our zoning code, it lists specifications for qualified manufactured homes. So any standards that specifically relate to qualified manufactured homes have to be deleted in order to coincide with the changes made in the Kentucky statute. The ordinance that we're talking about, 2026A, will eliminate any mention of qualified manufactured homes, and this House Bill 160 becomes effective July 1st of this year. So the committee recommended that in Article 14, definitions of our zoning code, a minimal change to be made. Oh, that was when we had that sentence that Carol thought was a little confusing, and it was. So Craig is going to fix that. So the administration committee recommends that council approve. This is just, we'll have a first reading tonight. Approve ordinance 2026A. So there wasn't a lot that we could do about this because in order to coincide with the Kentucky statute as it was changed, we really, that's it. We have to do it. And it's not really that big of a deal as to what the changes were made anyway.
You guys should have a copy of this.
The ones that are so pretty are.
Yeah, the one right next to McGee.
Yeah, those are qualified manufactured.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
But don't they sit on a foundation?
I thought those were on slabs.
Yeah,
Slabs?
I thought they were
They
slabs
wouldn't have
too.
the basements.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I guess I would have, I didn't think they'd be any different than a regular home. If it's on a slab, it's on a foundation.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Right.
matter how it got built.
I
It's
guess
a
that's
house.
what the Kentucky legislature thought, and they're like,
That's fine.
"Very
Yeah,
good."
I'm gonna vote for it when it comes up here, so.
Griffin.
There's two in front of
Griffin, those are
Yeah,
manufactured.
Yeah, because they don't have basements.
Okay.
There's all display
So,
malls.
all the changes, recommended changes to the zoning is found attached to.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
So the changes are, Craig has attached those, so you can look at those. That's for your extra reading when you're tired.
Perfect.
Speedy, that's what we
I
call it.
might as well, does anybody else have any questions about that? Okay, then I'll talk for a few minutes about Shadow Night. So most of you have sent me the names of the students that were your selections from River Ridge, St. Joe's, and Villa. So I'm hoping to get, I had a couple of people that still have to give them to me. I'm hoping to get those by tomorrow. And then, is Patrick out of town?
No, he just wasn't feeling well.
Okay, so I'll send him an email tonight, trying to like to have his people by tomorrow. And then once I have those, then we like to make it equal as to how many students are coming from the different schools. So you may not get your first pick as when Scott was in charge of this, he said the same thing. So I'll try to do my best, but that might not happen. Police Chief Hall, everybody wants his job. I told him he better watch his back.
Actually, he was outnumbered this year. It was the city engineer and one more applicant.
Oh, did you count him?
Yeah, but
did.
I had one in mind that wasn't for me, it was for Chief.
Oh,
so
then
that
they're
made it
even.
You know what, actually, I had one that referenced Chief also.
Yeah, I know, because he's the safety person.
Almost every year the same, those three positions get the
Yeah,
most.
yeah,
You
but
want
they
to
do.
just do mine and yours?
I told him Buck does all the real
Since
work.
everybody wants, since one of mine wanted to do you.
One year Jim got it.
He's got enough. Trust me, he's got enough
Jim goes,
selection.
"I must-"
I am the one that gets the least, and that's okay. Doesn't bother me in the least. So anyway, as soon as I get those and I separate them out, then I'll contact, you got a lot too, by the way.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if it was you or.
It was
Mary.
Mary Ann, but I read all of them.
Okay. So, those are the top jobs. So once I have the list figured out, then I'll contact the principals and tell them the names of the students, and then we'll get contact information to you. You just need to get the size of the shirt, and make sure it says child or adults, because Jennifer said sometimes that's not apparent, and you don't want somebody to look like Baby Huey. So, some of you probably don't know who Baby Huey was.
I don't know who Baby Huey.
That's because you're a baby yourself. Just
Thank
the
you.
rest of us that
Thank
are
Ask
you.
older.
Becky the next time you're down.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
no Baby Huey. So, the Shadow Night is on October the 18th. Please be there at 6 o'clock. It starts at 6:30.
February.
It's at Villa.
What'd you say, February 18th?
Oh, why did I say October the 18th? I don't know, February. Sorry.
Next month's meeting.
Yes, next month's meeting. The first time that I was a council person, I went to that Shadow Night. No one told me, so I kind of stuck out like a sore thumb because I didn't wear my city shirt. You all remember that?
Last year that happened to me. I
Because
had to go home and get it.
Nobody probably told you.
Black are shiny blue.
Yes. So be sure that you wear your city shirt.
that are not flame retardant.
All right?
How do you know that? Did it burn?
Well, hopefully there won't
She's
be
got
a
4 kids.
fire. Hopefully there won't be.
I'm scared for you.
Manage a job.
The next meeting of the administration committee, if we have business, is Wednesday, February 4th at 6:30 in council chambers. Do you have any questions about Shadow Night? But I will, when I give you your students' names and their contact information, I'll include all the information I just told you about wearing your shirt.
By the way, I was talking to Amanda Root today, and I just double checked that we were on the schedule. We are.
Yeah, I talked to Shoshan.
Good.
We're good. Yeah, we're good.
So, Baby Huey's a duck?
Baby Huey is a cartoon character.
That's a duck.
He is a very large
Duck.
duck, and his mom always put him in shirts that were way too small for him,
It's like child
and
abuse.
his
CPS.
stomach protruded.
We didn't have child abuse when I was a kid.
Now you gotta call CPS, man. All right, thank you. I learned something a lot today, actually.
And Jennifer, I have to find out the name of the lighting audio person for you to
We
write.
usually find out about a week beforehand who that's gonna be.
So I should tell Shoshana to tell.
Once they know
you.
who it is, to let us know.
Okay, all right. Does anybody have any question about Baby Huey or anything?
Well, I will say, he first appeared in 1950 Paramount novel tune short Quack-a-Doodle-Doo.
That I did not know.
Yes, we need to check that out. Maybe for next.
It was around for many years.
Ah.
My movie time
The
shadow
kid
night.
that's got the shirt thing, where it is.
Yes, yeah. All right, thank you, that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Stover? All right, Recreation Committee, Mr. Ringo.
Not much to report, but I will say that the Longhorns sent me a very long page-and-a-half letter that they had sent to their nearly 700 members' parents, and it went into great detail about all the work you guys have done in partnership with them, the new ball field and everything, and you know, they just did nothing but extol the virtues of the guys, the work, how it's going to fit into their program. So, and it said thank you. So I want to pass that on to you guys. Yeah, they, from my perspective too, they're very easy to work with. So anyway, that's it.
Great. Moving on to Fire Authority.
Fire Authority, since we met this past Monday night and went 2 times longer than Jim told Chad as the new member at any meeting
That's how he got
normally
me.
goes. You heard pretty much everything we did with Jeff's annual report, the discussion around that, and then Jim's report and a rather lengthy, active conversation about the budget too. So that's pretty much it. I really don't have anything else to report. The February meeting is on the 16th at 6 p.m.
Okay. So, okay, all right, thank you. Next, City Attorney.
I have no report.
Perfect.
Thank you.
City Clerk, Ms. Lipson.
We're still getting delinquent payments in, but nothing other than that I can think of.
All right, City Administrator, Mr. Bowen.
Thank you, Your Honor. The only item I have tonight will be reserved for executive session.
Thank you. That's Seth's fault, just to be clear.
Harsh crowd.
Yeah, well, make you think twice. All right, I have nothing to report, so we can move on to legislation.
All right. We have the first reading and discussion of draft ordinance 2026A. This is an ordinance of the City of Villa Hills in Kenton County, Kentucky, amending Table 4.01, Section 4.05 and 10.05, Table 10.1, and Article 14 of the Villa Hills zoning code regarding qualified manufactured homes.
And this is just first reading, but there's no further discussion. All right, thank you.
All right. Okay, so we have the discussion and approval of draft municipal order 2026A. This is a municipal order of the City of Villa Hills in Kenton County, Kentucky, declaring surplus property.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
And that was the cruiser for formerly Dooley and Onyx.
Correct.
Okay.
It's going to be going to the fire department for one of these.
Great.
All right, next we have discussion and approval of draft municipal order 2026B. This is a municipal order of the City of Villa Hills in Kenton County, Kentucky, approving the appointment of Chris Smith to the Villa Hills Board of Ethics for the term specified herein.
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
All right, we have discussion and approval of draft resolution 2026A. This is a resolution of the City of Villa Hills in Kenton County, Kentucky, appointing council member Kathy Stover as the city's representative to the Planning and Development Services Council and appointing Heather Jansen as the alternate expiring December 31st, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
I'm gonna
opposed?
Abstain, because I don't think I should vote for that.
You don't want to oppose it, though? I mean, you know. So, yeah. All right. Thank you. That wraps up legislation. So moving on, we've got, do we have any old business we need to discuss? Any new business? Any general comments from council and staff?
Two brief things, Your Honor. First, I do want to extend my extreme appreciation to everyone who reached out to me upon the passing of my sister earlier this month. She had been ill for a while, but it still is always unexpected, and so I really appreciate the support for that. And then I also wanted to let you all know that one of our longtime employees, William Scratchy or Patchy, depending on the time period he worked here with Smith, passed away as well. He had just recently retired, re-retired from us 6 months ago, and he had been our part-time public works person since he had retired from full-time work. So, great guy, wonderful sense of humor, just absolutely incredible sense of humor, and always a pleasure to see and work with him. So I'm really sad to hear about it.
Craig, and I'm sorry about your sister. I had no
I
idea.
didn't know that, so very simple.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry to hear.
Thank you. Any public comments?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
I thought maybe we had shamed you enough, but I guess not.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Does it fail if there's no second? Do I have it?
I'll second it.
All those
See?
in
See it?
favor?
I mean, dude, come on, we're sitting on the same side of the table for a reason,
I
right?
say, you sit next to him, you don't have to vote with him.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna owe him something.
Oh.
All right. All those in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Really? Yeah, no, all right. Sorry.
Can you give me those back and I'll email you those names? Is that easier for you?
It is because you're gonna